Hi, I'm Chinmay Kulkarni. I'm a visiting researcher at Google's People and AI Research Group and an associate professor at Emory University. Today, I'm going to share with you how you can prototype responsible AI experiences using a new tool from Google called Makersuite, as well as other Google resources such as the People and AI Research Guidebook. Makersuite is a tool that is designed to help you prototype with large language models, or LLMs. An LLM is a neural network that is trained on huge amounts of text from a wide variety of sources. This huge amount of data allows the network to learn grammar, common phrases, and even facts about the world. Based on this data and with some additional fine-tuning, an LLM can complete many artificial intelligence tasks based on simple instructions rather than requiring sophisticated machine learning programming. Let me show you just one example. Let's say you're developing a database of historical events, and so given a piece of text, you want to extract all of the people and places that it mentions. We can just write a prompt that does so. Here, I'm pasting in instructions, which say essentially, who are all the people and places named in this paragraph below? And because we want to put the results in a database, I ask for the response to be in JSON. Next, I'll paste in a paragraph of text input that's about the moon landing. Now, when I hit this blue Run button, Makersuite sends this input to a Palm API and displays the output for us here. And here, you'll notice that it created a JSON object with people and places as two separate dictionaries. Note here that the model also displays some common sense reasoning. Among the people, it does not include the 650 million people who watch the event on television, nor does it mention the Earth or the Moon as places in the output. So here we've built what is called an entity extraction or entity recognition system just by saying what we want. This ability to complete sophisticated machine learning tasks through simple instructions has the potential to empower all developers, not just AI experts, to create advanced systems that use AI. In other words, with LLMs, we can go from thinking up an AI app idea to prototyping it in a matter of minutes. But with speed comes responsibility. And in this workshop, I would like to introduce you to a few Google tools and offer you a conceptual guide that can help you prototype new AI systems responsibly. The first tool is Makersuite, which you have already seen. Makersuite is a browser-based visual interface for prototyping with the Palm API, so that you can try out an LLM without downloading or installing anything. Makersuite is a tool for prototyping and rapidly moving from ideas to working demos. A second resource that I would like to introduce you to is the People and AI Research Guidebook, or the PAIR Guidebook. This People plus AI Guidebook is a set of methods, best practices, and examples for designing with AI based on data and insights from over 100 Googlers, industry experts in academic research. While we wrote the PAIR Guidebook to be useful for designing all kinds of AI, I'll talk today about how you could use it for designing with LLMs specifically. In this workshop, we're going to be prototyping prompts for an app which is an AI-assisted word processor designed to help authors write stories. It looks like this. So for instance, if you're an author facing a writer's block while writing the story, you could just say, generate text. And this AI assistant will suggest a few ways in which the story could go from here. You can choose among these options or decide that none of these are what you want. You could also ask for more specific assistance, such as by asking this assistant to set the scene. So say, tell me how I got here, and say, generate text with this input. And so here are a few suggestions from the AI on how you might have got here. Not all of these suggestions are great, but they do offer various different ways to write the story. This app is a research prototype, and we are releasing it as open source, so you can play around with it yourself. You can find links to the code in the description below. To me, this app is a sophisticated, almost magical AI experience. It's the kind of experience that all developers should be empowered to create with Makersuite. So how do we do it? Okay, so let's start with prototyping something simple. Given a topic, write a story. And I'm going to paste in a prompt which is exactly that. Given a topic, write a story. And let's pass in a topic. How about, and now when I hit the run button, the PAM API should respond with a story. Let's see how it goes. And here's the story. Well, it starts with the phone ringing, the old school teacher picking it up. What else happens? Oh, it's a student called Michael, who's now a doctor, and thanks the teacher for everything she has taught him. It's a pretty good story. Now, it works okay for that topic, but how about for some others? Here, I'm going to use a feature from Makersuite called Test Inputs. This feature in Makersuite allows you to see how your AI experience will work for a wide variety of user inputs. So we can start a story about a school teacher getting a phone call from a student she taught decades ago, but there are some others that I will show you next. So to do that, let's get rid of the story and select the topic that we passed in. And when I click Insert Test Input, Makersuite changes that to be an input in this table below and allows you to add a few other inputs you want to try your prompt with. So let's try something else. How about, and so when I hit this run button, Makersuite will run both of these inputs to the prompt and put the results in the output here. So here's our first story about our teacher. And I'm not going to read through the whole story, but you can also see that there is a second story about a woman on a crowded train. So here's two different stories. And so this shows an important benefit of prototyping with Makersuite. You can change your prompt and quickly see how it works with multiple kinds of inputs. Let's try one last thing. I grew up in India, so I want to see if this prompt works well, if we can put stories to be in India. So I'll say, so we change this prompt input, and now when I hit run again, it will run through this new prompt with these two test inputs. All right. So you'll notice here that it's a new story, and it does have some more details that place it in India. And the same with the other one. This shows an important benefit of prototyping with Makersuite. You can change your prompt and quickly see how it works with different kinds of inputs. Testing with a variety and diversity of inputs is an important part of designing responsibly. We will use this feature in Makersuite repeatedly. But let's zoom out for a little bit. Is this the right task to design an AI experience for? Remember, we are designing an AI experience for assisting writers write stories. For instance, we could imagine an assistant that helps authors rewrite parts of the story of their own choosing. What is the right experience to develop for? To answer this question of whether a problem is the right AI experience to build, we turn to the PAIR Guidebook. The PAIR Guidebook allows you to answer questions like the ones we have in a systematic way. On the front page of the guidebook, you will see a way to filter by guiding questions. For instance, you could ask questions like, how do I get started? Or when and how should I use AI in my product? These questions are a great way to get oriented towards responsible AI. So let's start with this question, which seems to be the one we're having. When and how should I use AI in my product? This guiding question starts with the guidebook suggesting that we should start with thinking about if AI actually adds unique value. Here, it mentions a few things that AI is particularly good at. For instance, AI is well suited to applications like recommending different content to different users, predicting future events, natural language understanding, and image recognition. So recommending different things to different people, natural language understanding, all of these sound like a good fit for our AI writer's assistant. We also don't want our stories to be predictable, so it doesn't seem like a rule-based or heuristic approach is a good fit. Rule-based solutions are great when you want to maintain predictability, or when users and customers need complete transparency, or when the users don't even want the task to be automated. Predictable stories may not be the stories that are great to read, so this doesn't seem like a reason to use rule-based systems. So overall, it seems like AI is well suited for this application. And now that we have determined that AI is indeed a good fit, let us next see how to design the interaction for this experience. To do that, we'll go to this related chapter that is mentioned in this guidebook, the user needs chapter. This chapter has a wealth of guidance on how to design AI. For this workshop, we'll focus on one conceptual question. And you can see this question here at the end of this section, which I recommend you read in full. But the key concept that these questions ask is, instead of thinking about can we use AI to solve or to create a particular user solution, start by exploring how human-centered AI solutions might solve a real user need. And then to think about, can AI solve this problem in a unique way? In designing AI systems, it's useful to start with real human needs, and we would talk to story writers to understand their needs. But for this workshop, I suggest you pause this video at this point and brainstorm a few different user needs that writers will have and the unique ways that AI can solve them. In our case, while we're designing our open source editor, we decided to focus on rewriting and combating writer's block. So we have writers for our users, and for them, writing is a source of joy, but also frustration. So here's how we might tackle rewriting in Makersuite. When we talk to authors, we realize that a lot of them wanted to rewrite in order to create a particular feeling among their readers. So the prompt that I'll paste in now says, given a paragraph, edit it to make the readers, or in this case, curious about the main characters. And because we want to offer some degree of transparency here as to how we came up with this paragraph, I'll say, in addition to the rewritten text, summarize the changes that you've made. Next, I'll paste in a test paragraph. Here's a paragraph about a story that we are passing in as input to our prompt. Now, when I hit this run button, we'll see a rewrite of this paragraph and reasons why this rewrite was recommended. And so you see here, it's a little bit more interesting as a paragraph, and you can see the details that have been added, like details to the setting and details about the man himself. All right, so we can take this input and then use it to design our AI assistants. While designing our own app, we used a very similar prototyping process, even though at the time we did not have access to easy-to-use tools such as Makersuite. Early on in our prototyping, we noticed that our app had some prompts which had a character named Susan. While writing such prompts came naturally to our US-based team and yielded good results in general, the model would use this name as a clue to write stories that were based in the United States. Removing this character name allowed us to create stories that were more representative of cultures outside the US. Today, with Makersuite, you can test the behavior of prompts easily for a variety of such diverse content with multiple test inputs. The last thing we'll talk about in this section is evaluation. How do we know that our AI experience is good and getting better? The PAIR Guidebook has handy resources to help you with questions like this. In general, we have found that beyond technical metrics, it's useful to measure AI experiences along two dimensions: usefulness and usability. The guidebook has a primer for how to design such metrics for your use case. You can see it linked here in this worksheet just below the key concept we talked about. In here, you'll see a number of different exercises going through to see evidence of the user need, to decide whether to augment or to automate, and to define success criteria. This is an exercise we suggest going through with your team. here's the augmentation versus automation question and how you might decide that. So in this case, we suggest a research protocol which says if you're helping to train a new worker for a similar role, what are the most important tasks you would teach them first? And this gets to what are useful tasks for the AI to accomplish. We also ask, well, how often is this useful task something that you run into? So that's a question about usefulness. Let's look at usability. Here's another research protocol for that. We ask users to describe the first impressions of that feature and how often they have encountered particular problems. Finally, we suggest that for usefulness, it's helpful to measure one critical user interaction for each task. So, for example, how often do users accept AI suggestions? Here in our success metrics framework, you will see a template for trying different versions of the success metric. For usability, in addition to formal user studies, it's helpful to ask users directly how usable your interface is. The Guidebook has a survey that helps you get started. Remember to measure this usefulness and usability for the full diversity of tasks and users that your AI experience supports. So far, we have seen how to use Makersuite and the pair Guidebook to prototype new AI experiences. The final aspect that I want to touch on today is earning and maintaining users' trust. This aspect is so important that an entire chapter in the Guidebook is dedicated to it. With generative AI, it is especially useful to communicate the intent of the features and to help users understand their limitations. For example, because language models rely primarily on their ability to predict what comes next in text, they may not be factually accurate. So it is important to help users understand that our tool is a creative writing aid and does not offer factuality. Similarly, while generative AI models are highly capable, users are not always able to verify whether the tasks that they have completed are correct in their specific use case. For example, while designing this app, we deliberately chose to limit the design to targeted completion of text and targeted rewriting of stories. The Guidebook offers a systematic introduction to trust and how to maintain it. In this workshop, I'll only focus on an aspect where generative AI, like LLMs, offer an advance over earlier models of AI. Unlike previous AI models that were designed for a narrow specified task, outputs from generative models are much easier for end users to customize. This ability to easily determine the output of a prompt is often called steerability. Now, here is the prompt that we had before about the rewrite to make readers more curious about the main characters. Let's see if we can do other kinds of rewrites. I'm going to select this text and turn it into a test input. You could also turn the paragraph itself into a test input, but to keep things clearer in this workshop, I'm not doing that. Okay, so here's the first test input. Make the readers curious about the main characters. Here's another one. Let's say, make the readers like the main character more. And so when I click this run button, we will send this input to an LLM and we'll show the output again in this table here with the outputs. Okay, well, here's a rewritten paragraph. And I want to focus on the steerability here, so I'm going to draw your attention only to the changes that we have made. So here, we've added a few words, we changed a few words, and hopefully that changes how curious readers are about this character. In terms of liking the main character more, here's the text itself, and we added a few more details about the setting to create a more vivid picture that people can relate to, describe the main character a little bit more, and so forth. So you can see here, with just a simple test input, you can see how you can steer your prompt in various different ways. That's a quick introduction to prompting with Makersuite. Now it's your time to use the code in your own app. How do you do that? Well, all you need to do is to click this Get Code button And we show you starter code in a variety of different languages that you can use directly in your application. Note that you will have to enable an API key with the Palm API before you paste the code in your application. I suggest you try it with the open source editor we've created by using the link below. In this workshop, we saw a few tools from Google to make responsible AI prototyping faster and more approachable. In addition to the pair guidebook, we also have several other resources for specific needs and other videos at this year's Google I/O that can help. We have linked to these below. I hope you found this workshop useful, and I can't wait to see what you build.